Tasha Sims, and we're actually doing things a little differently today because of the state of the world and what's going on. And we're broadcasting a day earlier live on Facebook is where we're starting. And it's really interesting because we're going to take this and they're going to air it live in our slot tomorrow on the air in Vancouver on 100.5 CFRO in Vancouver. And Tasha and I are playing with some technology and having some fun, so it's a little different for us today. And I think we've got a fitting topic that I think is timely for all of us. And so we're going to do the show this way today. And there's even an opportunity as we get going that if you'd like to join us and make some comments, ask some questions, we're going to open that up for you guys today as well, too. So without any further ado,
well, it's so different because I can see you in the studio, but when you're doing a radio show, I'm not aware of camera at all. I'm just in whoever I'm talking to and whoever I'm interviewing, and it's very sort of intimate and personal, but it's all auditory. So now we got this whole visual component. So I'm not going to let it throw me. You're the pro at this, I think. Well, I'm the pro as an actor, but not as an interviewer, because that's always radio. But here's the thing, tonight's show is who do you want to be during COVID-19? And the backstory of that, everybody's on social media. So I was on social media and I came across the actual post that we have up, right, Marc? You've got it up, that diagram. Who do you want to be during COVID-19?
But I will. Let me just get it. I'm going to share it in the feed. On Facebook, just underneath in the comments, so people can see the image. But
so
go ahead.
This is flying around on the internet, and I didn't even know the person who had posted it, so I'm not really sure why I got it, but I checked it out and I went, this is brilliant. And so I contacted her going, what is the source? Because if we're going to talk about something, I want to know who actually created this. And she didn't know, but such a random universe. It turns out that she's a student at Rhodes Wellness College. Her name's Kendra Gilbert. And all her posts were super inspirational, but this one in particular really blew me away. So it's inspiring a whole 1-hour radio show and Facebook Live. Because I think it's worth talking about because it's a time where there is very little that we can control except how we respond. It's like Martin Luther King quote where he was talking about it's not where you stand in moments of comfort and convenience, but where you stand in times of challenge and controversy that makes a man or a woman, right? And that's where we're at now. Times are really, really uncertain. People's anxiety can be quite high. People are reactive. So this chart kind of spells it out. We're going to go over it in the first half, the different zones that you could respond from, one being the fear zone, then the learning zone, and then the growth zone. And then we're going to hopefully invite you guys in to brainstorm with us to come up with what actions would demonstrate that you're in the growth zone. So let's make it really practical and inspire each other to grow and expand, which is kind of what the show's all about too.
Well, so I'm just having a little bit of a challenge sharing this image in the comments. So let's
we'll go over it verbally, but let's start with good news, shall we?
Absolutely.
Because we love to do that section. There's so much. I don't know about you, but when I really monitor how much news I can handle now, because too much and I start to not feel well. So I do very small doses. So this is our offering. And we've been doing it for a while. Good news. So we can kind of go, what are the things we can celebrate that are going on right now? And so this one I thought was really cool. It really touched me because this was a journalist live on air and she had a meltdown. It was Hoda Kotb. She was the co-anchor on the Today Show, and she was interviewing Drew Brees, the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. And he had just donated $5 million to Louisiana to help with their COVID situation. And she interviewed him, and then she started to break down. And I know they had people from the station who were had tested positive, and she was going in and working. So the point was a lot of stress, very overwhelming situation. But to see someone in the media cry openly was one of the most beautiful things. I went, there's a moment. I wish it was always like that. Plus, the good news is that, here's his quarterback who I guess made his money in New Orleans and he's giving back. I love it. I love that story.
That's
Oh,
fantastic.
she said she said a lot of things are contagious, including generosity. It's cool, right?
Wow. Yeah, yeah. Now, for people who are watching, just so they know, if they're looking on Conscious Living Radio, the post is just right above us on top of the video. So you can scroll up and you can see that image there.
Oh, thanks for doing that.
We're going to throw it in the, I'm going to get this thrown in our little talk so it can kind of show up with us as well. So just so people know, and I'd like to ask any of our viewers who are watching, maybe tell us where you're watching from anywhere in the world today in the comment section so we can see who you are and where you're at.
Another piece of good news.
Mm-hmm.
Dyson, the Dyson vacuums, Dyson fans, which I've always wanted and I still don't have one. Anyway, he heard that they needed ventilators in the UK, 10,000 of them. And in 10 days, he created one, like a better one, and donated back to the UK, which I thought was a cool story too.
Nice. Cool. Well, I have some good news. I saw a couple of things as part of the medical response to what's going on and all the frontline workers in today's world, and always out of crazy adversity and interesting times, people get creative. And one of the things I saw today was really quite interesting because I guess they're wearing their face masks so much it's really hard on the back of their ears. It's this the little elastics that hold them in place it's wearing their ears. And someone had made a headband, little buttons that they could actually put the elastics on the button instead of behind their ears.
Oh, cool. That's cool.
It was a really great piece. And then I heard of another woman who had made something, some sort of a face mask that opened up so that people could communicate by reading lips and things.
Actually, I heard about that one. It was she cut out and put plastic in the center instead of your mouth being covered, because you can't read lips, obviously, if the mouth is covered. Yeah. And, whether it's with kids or I think it was also for workers, because when kids are in the hospital, if kids are deaf and used to reading lips, right, so they could read the lips of the nurse or the provider, healthcare provider. Yeah, I thought that was cool. And she was 21, the girl who worked on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And so that's just the ingenuity that comes from some of these challenging times for people where, necessity is the mother of invention, they say, right?
Mm-hmm. And, the other good news for me is honestly at 7:00, this has become my touchstone. When we go out, we meaning the city of Vancouver, it seems now. It started out in the West End where I am, and it was a few people, and then it spread. Talk about contagious. So now at 7:00, everyone's going out there, banging, cheering, appreciating all workers, whether it's healthcare or grocery stores or delivery people or the people making the food for takeout, whatever it is, that people who are still working and supporting us. That's our moment to kind of give back. But the beauty, and that's kind of what we're talking about tonight, is I can't tell you how much it picks me up. And therefore, that whole idea of giving is not one-sided. It's like a perfect demonstration that as you give, you receive at exactly the same time. It's not, I give you this, you give me that, I'm going to keep score. Mm-hmm. It just happens because it's an energy. You're saying thank you, and it, what?
Kind of like instant karma.
Instant karma. You're breathing it in. You're exhale, inhale. And my favorite time of day. And I'm meeting all my neighbors off balconies. People that I've never met before in the building were like,
yeah. Well, I was for a walk down at Jericho the other day, a Sunday evening, just, taking in the sunset. And, everybody, there's a number of people out there, some good social distancing going on. It was all pretty cool. My friend and I met somebody we know in our community, and we had a conversation from 15 feet apart.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of connecting these days.
That's right. But so important to connect. And like I say, I think people are getting very creative about how they're doing it. But hey, do you want to just dive in? Let's dive into our model there. You've got the post up now, right?
I put it up on our page. It's going to be on our Conscious Living radio page as well when the show goes live tomorrow on consciousliving.org. There's a little image here in the broadcast that we're looking at that doesn't come up as big, but you can go to that. And this has been going around the internet, so you may have seen it a number of times already as well.
So let's go through it because let's start with the inner circle. Like here's COVID's happening. And the first sort of zone they're calling it is called the fear zone. Let's describe some of the characteristics in the fear zone. Do you want to start?
I can absolutely do that. All right, so the first of the characteristics in the fear zone is, I grab food, toilet paper, and medications that I don't need. I think we've seen that. I can't speak for medications or food, but I can certainly speak for toilet paper because anytime I go to the store, there's never any there. So I spread emotions related to fear.
Well, hold on.
Okay,
hold
sorry.
on. No. I got a toilet paper comment, of course. I've been holding on to it for a long time. And I comment because people keep saying, why are people doing that? Why is everyone freaking out about toilet paper? And out of my mouth came, because they don't want to deal with their shit.
I love it.
Which is so true. I mean, as a therapist, it's like this, I thought it was a good therapist joke, I thought.
It is.
Okay.
And our joke is like, hang on a second, there's lots of food out there, no toilet paper, what goes in must come out. There's a little imbalance, to that. So anyways.
Okay. Also in the fear zone, complain frequently. So people are complaining all the time. People are forwarding messages that spread concern without evaluating whether it's true or not. People might be getting mad easily. And what was the one you were talking about when you started to say spreading?
Oh, I spread emotions related to fear and anger.
Right. So, I mean, I think we all pretty much know what it means to be fear-based. It's you're in a reaction. You're not considering the impact of what you're doing or saying. It is literally a reaction to something, right? That's the fear zone. And then it moves into the learning zone where, people are taking a look and going, okay, I can't control all this. So you start to give it up. It's a process. It's not just, I've decided to give it all up. I can't control it. It truly is a process. And you realize if you're tapping into your feelings, where you're tight, what is hard for you to let go of control, but certainly uncertainty. Initially, people are off balance. And so you begin to realize, okay, this is how I let go. This is part of the process in the learning zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So which one am I on? Are we starting at the top?
It doesn't really matter which of them we do, as long as we cover them all.
Yeah. I like the one where, I recognize we're all trying to do our best. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, some people are not having issues. Some people are concerned, and there's, everybody's kind of doing what they can to, find ways to navigate what's going on for them.
Right. And it's always a bit tricky. Like I've seen myself have a few moments of reaction, and I think it was around, when I see people totally disrespecting the social distancing piece, I think it felt like it's taking some freedom away from those who would like to social distance and actually follow that guideline. And so I could sense a reactivity come up. But then what are your options in that moment? If you're in the learning zone, you would consider the impact of what's about to come out of your mouth on those people if you're going to talk to them. If you're not going to talk to them at all, and you just, in my opinion, pick up the cell phone and call what I call the snitch line.
Do you actually have a snitch line?
Well, there is a number to call, but they don't call it the snitch line. But there is a number to call. I'm being kind of facetious, but not, because it stopped me. Like I had a moment where I went, I think I'd rather talk to them directly, tell them what my concerns are. Well, not directly, from 6 feet away, tell them what my concerns are and ask them, because I saw a group of, 14 people. Clearly they were going to go home after that to wherever it is they're living. And my first question would have been, are you going to share that you all just shared a joint? Like, are you going to share that with whoever you live with? Because to me, I'm big on fair. And either, you have to have agreements around what it is your household is doing and not doing. It doesn't make sense to withhold information from each other if you're isolating, right? Yeah.
And that's a really great point that you bring up, because I dealt with this,
Mhm.
firsthand, in terms of kind of, I lead a community home. There's a group of us living together, and it's interesting to see how we all navigate this in a different way.
Mhm.
Some people are fine; they don't care, such as myself. I'm totally okay. Now I'm taking my precautions. But we have a number of people, and we had one of our as we refer to ourselves as homies, concerned about some things. If you had a friend come over and things of that nature, and the concern there, yet people are going out all the time.
Mhm.
And part of my logic was, well, if nobody comes in, nobody goes out, because how do you control that container? Which is exactly what you're saying. There's all these people sharing a joint, and then they go where are they going next? They're going home. They're going all these places. So it's a really interesting navigation, as you start thinking about, even when you hear about people who are getting sick, where they're doing that contact tracing, they're tracing everything back to see if they can find the source. So it's just been a really interesting dynamic. So a big part of my learning was really taking into consideration the feelings and the needs for everybody that we're living with.
Right.
It was
Well,
something that
that's which will
wasn't.
take us into the next. It'll take us into the next zone where you're considering the collective, instead of just me, 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 me.
Yeah, I
It's
was.
it's great. Everyone has their own opinions on the situation, and we have. If you're sharing a space, it's a collective, right?
Yeah.
It has to be considered. So, also in the learning zone, identify and feel my emotions, which
Mm-hmm.
is super important, because there's a tendency when you're scared, fight, flight, freeze. It's like there are all ways to deflect from feeling actual pain and discomfort in the body. And so to actually say, no, I'm going to learn how to do that. I can be with my feelings. My feelings are not going to kill me. Something else might, but not my feelings. So you learn, and you take this opportunity to learn how to be with, whether it's your anxiety and go deeper, or your fears, or your sadness, or your grief, or your loss, whatever it is. I mean, the most beautiful thing it was a Hopi grandmother who called this time. She had a beautiful article on this time period, and she said it's either a portal or a hole.
Mm.
And I love that. So
Yeah.
to me, it is a portal, and that means learning to feel your feelings. It's not something to fall into and let it, like a tsunami, take you over or be driven by. It's a way to learn that it's okay to feel everything, and it doesn't define who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your actions do, and yet what you feel inside has to be welcome inside your body. Your body has to be a safe place, or you have, who's home? Like nobody's home. So I love this. I love that the feelings are amplified right now. I love that people aren't being superficial. Mostly, they're going a little bit deeper, and that really is a exciting thing to me. So that's part of learning, the learning zone.
It really is, and I think in this time it's a great opportunity. It's a conversation I just had in regards to an interview I just did a couple hours ago, and we were talking about what a great opportunity is. Things are slowing down to go inside, and kind of really rediscover yourself. Imagine if you've been working for 20, 30 years, and all of a sudden you stop and you have all this time. You got a lot of time to fill, and to use, hopefully productively, creatively, and inspirationally to
Yep. Yep.
others. So I
And
think a lot of magic that can be had in these moments. Because when was the last time the world's ever been this quiet?
oh,
Usually it's,
I know.
you
Oh,
know
we're gonna get to the growth zone and all the benefits, but still, in terms of learning,
mm,
identifying what hurts you and what is helpful for you. And that would be in terms of eating, drinking, whatever you're partaking in, from food or substances to the news. I mean, it really, what you're reading, what you're watching. It's like, I'm not really big on this is good and this is bad. Well, you know that about me. I don't like polarities of good and bad. That to me is not what, to me, consciousness is.
mm-hmm.
However, bringing consciousness to what you're doing, and I think you have the right to do whatever you want to do. But the question, is this helpful for me right now, like in this moment, is a beautiful question. It's a conscious question to ask. So there's no judgment in what you choose to do. But by asking the question, it's an expansive kind of feeling where you're awake to the choices you're making, right? And this is as opposed to being mindless about any of it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Very well said there. And that's just a big part of what's going on is, there's a mindfulness that's coming up.
Mm-hmm. The last one?
Yeah, go for it.
I evaluate information before spreading something that may be false. And we're not going to unpack that.
Oh, come on.
We're not. Every time Mark and I talk, we go down that road. Okay, I'm only going to say this.
I want to say one thing about that without saying much.
Okay.
Right? There's a lot of information out there.
Yes.
And there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yes.
I think it's up to each individual to do their own research, to watch what they watch and learn what they learn and take in what they learn and make their own decision on what makes best sense for them.
Okay.
There's so much out there, and part of it's entertaining. Part of it's kind of freaky if it's all true. What's true, what's false. For me, in my world, I'm having a hard time discerning that right now. So that's kind of where I'm at.
And I agree with everything you just said. And I want to highlight this because I think it's important. To me, everything you just said demonstrates a value of freedom, which I know is very important to you. So can I do the same with my value, and then we can coexist on the same screen here without us even disagreeing?
Absolutely. And I'm always okay to agree to disagree, but please do share, because this is what makes our program diverse, right? You're all the same, and we wouldn't have some of those passionate little debates.
So one of my top values, I do love freedom, but one of my top, and fairness, but one of my top values is unity, inclusivity, a coming together. And so this is my creed, and I'm actually I'd love to be able to just read it.
I love it.
Any thoughts, feelings, ideas, theories, or dogma that separates us into camps, that remove us from our unified humanity, that invite judgment or reactivity are not helpful. Any thoughts, feelings, ideas, or theories that invite understanding, bridge perception, and include everyone are. It's as simple as that. It's not us versus them. We are them. They are us. We're all in this together. And that's what I want to live by, because I do, polarity as a human being, it just is. It's what you experience is separation. Here I am, there you are. I mean, this is, when I think of spirituality and consciousness, how do you bridge that without becoming, I'm not a Zen monk on a mountaintop. I love human everything. How do you bridge and how do you live and demonstrate what I just said, and still allow yourself to have a full human experience, which includes values of freedom, right?
And in this particular part of freedom, for me, it's freedom of speech.
Right.
Right. It's really important that we're all able to speak freely, regardless in something, because there's a lot of crazy stuff throughout history of people saying, but it's one of our fundamental rights. And I think that just really, and that's why I love what we're doing and having open conversations, because I think it's important.
I do too. And I think people equally have the right to say, no, thanks. I don't want to hear that. That doesn't work. That doesn't work for me. Yeah, and I wish that had a name. I wish that was like freedom of speech, freedom of what? Listening, or I don't know.
Here's what it is. I believe people can say whatever they want to say. And if we don't want to hear it, we ignore them. We disengage. We change the channel. We go to a different, video or page or whatever it is, or you remove yourself from the situation if they don't honor your request. Right?
Well, yes. And that's very clean and clear. But when it's relationships, I cannot tell you how many times I've had to repeat my request. It's my boundary. It's about what works for me. And people don't get it. They take it personally, but it's my boundary. It's not saying anything about you. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm saying I cannot participate in any thinking that is us and them. Yeah. I contract, my body goes tense. I intuitively, for me, know it is not helpful at this time. in terms of what's happening. And that's the information I'm getting. So, but it's interesting when I try to communicate that I will get backlash. It's not the same as you may experience backlash in terms of being free. I experience backlash when I say, please, I don't really want to hear that. I experience a backlash.
Yeah.
So no, it's interesting.
Completely agree.
So we're not quite at actions that demonstrate the growth zone because we've got to go over all the points in the growth zone. My favorite. One of them is kind of what we were talking about right now, that two people can have a difference of opinion and stay connected. So this is to me, this is not on the chart. This is now me. Mm-hmm. But you being you 100% and me being me 100%, nobody has to give up who they are to stay connected. That to me is the ultimate definition of a healthy relationship, right? Right there. And that would be in the growth zone. Yeah. So if you're at home and you're getting into bickering and stuff with whoever's around you, that might be one thing you want to consider. Can you actually just breathe into, take turns, like here's me, and you talk about it, and then now, okay, how about you? Here's my reality. Now, what's your reality? And there's space for both to exist in the same container. Then everybody feels heard, and it's like, okay, like we see it differently, but we're both there. Nobody has to shrink, and nobody has to power up, right? They just, it's just how it is.
And that's a beingness of being present, being in the now, being in the moment, not making anybody wrong, and accepting and appreciating, where they come from. And that's one of the first steps in the coaching model that I happen to use a lot, that I really appreciate, is appreciate and understand the other person's world. We don't have to agree with it. We don't have to fall into the story, but I think it's really important to, have that empathetic side to appreciate and understand that.
Yeah. Okay, the growth zone. I think of others, and I'm curious about how I could help them. So I don't think, there's something to be said about dashing in there and thinking you're like the white knight. Like, I don't think that's it. I think it's a consideration. How can I best support this person? And sometimes it's really cool to ask and let them define it. Mm-hmm. Right? How can I help you? I hear that you're struggling. Is there something I could do? Like, it's a question, not just you don't know somebody else's reality until you ask, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. And it's a humble approach to service, right?
Yeah.
All right. How about this one? I make my talents available to those who need them.
It's good.
And I think that kind of relates to the first one, how we can help people. And I've had the experience, in the past couple of weeks where, my talents, people are reaching out to me to share and to, broadcast and do a bunch of these different things. And I'm just happy to share. I'm going live a lot lately. So it's pretty exciting for me to, be able to contribute in that.
Yeah. Can I share mine? It was so funny. So there's, I'm meeting so many new neighbors in the building because of all this. Anyway, one asked me to do a little bit of editing. They were just launching their website, which I love doing. I love editing. So I did that. And then he said, can I bake you something? And I went, not doing sugar right now. And I said, I really am wanting vegetables. He's a chef, right? So he's making me a vegetable dish and going to leave it in the stairwell after this broadcast. So nice. I just thought,
where do I come over to pick up my dish after that?
You want to find we have two stairwells. You can go north. I'll go south. We'll leave your baked goods on that one. I'm getting veggies.
Yeah, but this is a beautiful thing of some of the benefits. That's what's happening. Even we're seeing a lot of people walk in the neighborhood here, and actually people are talking, connecting, communicating.
Yes.
There's a deeper human connection happening. Even from across the street, there's some chuckles and some laughs of people from across the streets, right? Mm-hmm. So I am seeing a nice light playfulness too with people in this as we're starting to adjust.
Yep. Okay, another characteristic or statement that defines you're in the growth zone. I live in the present and open to the future that's unfolding. So living in the present is, to me, the number one superpower that we all have to move through this as a portal, not a hole. Mm-hmm. Because when you fall into it as a hole, when you're letting fear strangle you in any way, shape, or form or drive you, you're not in the present. You may be feeling fear in the present, But the actions that you take to alleviate that fear, they're not in the present. They're your past. They're your worry about the future. They're not right now. Right now, we're sitting here, we're talking, we're breathing. Like there's something about the present that calms the system. And you can then let the future do what it's doing. This is life. It's going to unfold. Mm-hmm. And you can be open and curious. That we have control over.
And
right?
If you're
your state.
Yeah. And if you're living in the present, in the moment, then there isn't stress, anxiety. It's just what is and what's right now.
I mean, you might feel stress. You might.
Yeah, I get
it. Your relationship with it is soft.
Yes. I like that definition. I've been blessed where I haven't been feeling that myself, but I'm just staying, as present. I'm looking around and what's good around me in every moment that we're having right now.
Right. I'm empathetic with myself and with others. Okay, this is huge because I'll tell you what I'm hearing a lot of when I check in with people. They've got a list, and I did the same at the beginning, but then I realized that I didn't let it ripple out into a problem area. But I started with a list when all this isolation happened, going, oh my God, everything that I haven't gotten done was going to happen like in the first week. The closets, the taxes, the receipts, I had this list of things to do. And when I didn't do them, what I realized was like I had to go through a process to just go, I think I'm going to make this okay right now. I think something else is happening for me that's more important than the paperwork. Mm-hmm. But I do hear people who are very, if you're an A type who's very driven by your self-esteem being evaluated by what you do, and your standard is quite high. So you might have this mega list and then you somehow don't do it or deviate from it. Then out comes the whip and you start hitting yourself and criticizing yourself. So empathy with yourself and with others, to me, is again a soft response to whatever it is that happens in the moment. You're open. Your climate, emotional climate inside your body is welcoming to whatever arises. Mm-hmm. And that is as succinctly as I could put it, because it covers everything. So your inner perfectionist, again, you can't say, well, I've got this inner perfectionist, I'm going to get rid of it. Well, wait a minute. What part of you is that? That's your inner perfectionist saying that part of you is a problem. Mm-hmm. What if no part of you was a problem? What if you could receive every single part of you with love and softness and curiosity, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, wow, look at this part of me that is furious.
I love that word, curiosity. I like to be curious. I like to know why. I like to dig a little deep, Yeah.
So breathe into it.
Yeah, and encourage people to be curious.
Yeah.
Right? It's a great time to do so. Now, do you know anyone, Tasha, by the name of Cindy Williams?
Oh, Cindy. Hi.
Cindy says, love your hair, lady. Be well.
Cindy, I saw you on Facebook the other day. She's in Mexico, I think. Nice. If you're still listening, your place looks amazing. And I'm like, I think Merida is where you said, and I just went, wow, how cool that would be. I love that part of Mexico. There's so much culture and music, and people are so friendly. It'd be an interesting, actually, we'd love to hear from you. What's it like in Merida, if I'm correct, if I'm up to date, during COVID, and how are you doing during COVID? So if you're still listening, please, let us know.
Yeah, I'm going to share a link in our Facebook feed as well. So if people want to kind of join us in the studio, we can pop some people in.
Yeah, because we're going to soon move towards actions. We've got a couple more, though. So the empathetic with yourself, meaning you're compassionate with yourself and you're self-accepting of all of your mess, if you're in a mess, but also with others. People are going through stuff. Can that be okay? You don't have to fix it. You don't have to make them better. Is it all right just to meet them where they are and receive them? Mm-hmm. That would be a sign to me that you're in the growth zone, because people get uncomfortable around feelings. And so when you're trying to help or fix it, often that's your own uncomfortability. How about just meet the person? How about let them cry? How about let them be wherever it is they are without needing it to be different?
Yes, so true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. sometimes I just want to fix things.
That's a guy. It is a bit of a guy thing.
It's a masculine energy.
You want everyone happy. You want the gals happy.
Yeah.
But it's okay. All feelings are valid and important, because really what we're after is flow as opposed to contraction.
Yeah.
Right? Flow with all the feelings, but not identifying as the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's one I disagree with a little bit. It's on the growth chart. I'd love to just change it since we don't know who created this. It says, I keep a happy emotional state and spread hope. And yes, the spread hope, love it. Because I think
and that's where you talk about, I don't like the word hope.
Okay, so we're going to dissect this one statement, because the part that for me is not completely deep enough is there's a lot of spiritual leapfrog that goes on. People who basically will say, okay, I'm going to be in a happy emotional state, and they do an override to all the other feelings that might be present inside you. And as we've been talking about, I really believe that inclusivity includes inside yourself. Acceptance includes inside yourself. So you don't make anything wrong or bad. You just move through it internally. So being in a happy emotional state is not the end game. You are in a happy emotional state if you're flowing and accepting yourself. It's like a catch-22. Yeah. So I don't like the idea of saying I am going to be, as if everything that isn't that is now a problem. And so I'm saying, if you actually shift your perception and say every feeling has something to teach me, something to bring me. If you do that, you will be in a happy emotional state. Even if you were sad, even if you were grieving, you could still feel happy. Mm-hmm. And I know that's an odd thing, but that's how it is when there's flow.
It's absolutely, that's part of being in the moment. There's a joy in the pain. And you look at it as growth. Right?
Do you want to make a comment about hope?
Well, hope,
I like hope myself.
And I don't, because to me, there's a linguistic thing that hope is kind of a false, it's hope. It's maybe not. I would rather, and to me, hope is a town, just outside of the Fraser Valley here in British Columbia. But I like to think of being, inspirational, of,
inspired.
Yes, a positive expectation.
Yeah.
There's something about hope that leaves an element of doubt and maybe not.
For you.
For me, yeah. It's just that it stops short for me, that particular word.
Also that you're sort of longing for something that doesn't exist. To me, and I can see that. Semantics, yes.
And however, I do get it. And, from a layman's word of using hope and just saying, because we always hope for something better, we all, so I get that in terms of common language. So it hits home for a lot of people, and I get that. But for me, it's just the small things, and that's
gotcha. No, I got you. So let's just say for that one, we would change it to, I let feelings flow without being driven by them. That's what I would say about the emotional state, therefore resulting in a happy emotional state. Like that
spread inspiration and positive expectation, or it's not, I get it, but
because if you're attached to anything, you're not in the growth zone. The growth zone is about surrendering to what is, and something bigger than you, ultimately bigger than your personality anyway, whatever you want to call that. I look for a way to adapt to new changes. That's another one. Did we cover them all?
Sorry.
I thank and appreciate others. And that's kind of what we're doing both at the 7:00 call, but I suggest in your life that you do it everywhere. One of the actions that would demonstrate the growth zone is that you make a list of people that you really appreciate, and you tell them. You don't just think it. Call them up and say, hey, I've never told you this, or I need to tell you again what I love about you, and here, I'll do you, Marc. What I really appreciate about you is how, like, we've had to go through this with the station being in lockdown and the way we're doing the show and everything else. What I'm noticing is your fluidity and flexibility with just rolling with it. And I really appreciate that about you.
Thank you, Tasha.
You're welcome.
What I thank and appreciate you for is the work and the preparation you do for every show, for setting the music, and really leading the interviews in a great way that you do. It's one of the things I really appreciate about you.
Thanks.
I know it's a pleasure.
Okay, let's segue. Oh, actually, let's do call letters, because this is going to be also aired tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, 6 to 7, our usual time on Conscious Living Radio, Co-op Radio in Vancouver, 100.5 FM in Vancouver.
One
And
little nugget I want to say about Co-op Radio is that we are starting our spring fundraiser as well, starting next Wednesday. So I'm just putting it out there that they decided to go ahead with it even during these current times. So if you listen to Co-op Radio, you like our program, anything of that nature, please visit Co-op Radio or consciouslivingradio.org and make a donation and contribution. They are a charity-based, or not charity, but they are they run on members' contributions. They're a nonprofit. And
commercial free. That's why we're not getting it from anybody else except you guys.
Yeah, we rely on the donations of you for the programming that we do. So, please, if you feel called, please donate to Co-op Radio.
And this is where I'd love our listeners or viewers to get involved here. I mean, just, even type something up, because we're looking at we've talked about the growth zone. You can see the difference between being in a fear zone, a learning zone. What are the actions that would demonstrate that you're in the growth zone? And here's the cool thing about actions. And I think you know this, Marc. Even if you don't feel like doing something, if you do it, then you feel like it. Like whatever it generates a feeling.
Yes.
And so sometimes, we sit there waiting and going, well, but I don't feel like it. I'm going to wait till I feel like it. And sometimes the action will give you the state that you desire. And I think when you're in the growth zone, you know that. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at, for the next half hour, actions that inspire safety, generate inclusivity, basically it's the opposite of this time that is so challenging, being a whole, being more an inspiration and an opportunity. Any actions that demonstrate that, to me, would fit in the action zone.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you asking me?
Well, we're starting. I'm just taking a look here, going, if there's anything else that I wanted to say, just to sort of intro what we're looking for now, what actions would demonstrate. Let's just go for it. So yeah, I am asking you, what actions, pick one action that would demonstrate that you're in the growth zone.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And for me, the growth zone, I'm just keep doing more things. Every time somebody reaches out, I say yes.
So yours is saying yes.
Yeah, and I say, I was even reached out by Co-op Radio if I was willing to produce another program during the course of this, in this format or a Zoom format, and I said yes. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing saying yes? I have enough time getting guests for our show right now, making all that happen, and I'm saying yes because to me that's stretching and growing the muscle. I've asked a number of different things to help out, and this is where the growth, helping others and being an inspiration. So it's really important for me to be a pillar of what I would call certainty, that we're going to get through this, it's going to be okay, let's make it happen, and let's enjoy the process.
Right. It's interesting though, for some people it might be saying no. Mm-hmm. Might be a demonstration of their growth.
Yeah.
Right? For someone who's always said yes to the detriment of their own health, or there are people who go, can you help me move? And it's like, yes, but really they're inside, they're going, I can't, I'm exhausted. I wish I could sleep. But it's not, they're hooked into something there. So when you're in the growth zone, you would have dissolved that. And now you would be demonstrating that it's okay to have boundaries. It's okay to say, you know what? I don't think I can do that. Mm-hmm. Or whatever it is you need to say, to tell the truth. There. How about that simply? Telling the truth would be a demonstration. Radical honesty is a demonstration of the growth zone.
Radical honesty is a beautiful thing when you just do it. It sets you free. It's like so many people never speak their truth, and then they wonder why they're so kind of locked up. And when you can actually express yourself authentically, it's amazing what opens up, for yourself and how other people then also receive you.
Yeah.
There's authenticity is a very, very powerful state and place to be in when it comes down to communicating, for sure. And
And if we,
I was going to say, when I say one of the things for me was saying yes, I say yes a lot, but I'm saying yes to some different things right now that are causing me to stretch and grow
yes.
and do different things and find different solutions so that I can, remain in a good state and a good place so that I can continue to serve with the way that I'm doing just wherever I'm at.
And keep growing.
Yeah. Hey, well, if you're not growing, what's happening? What are you doing, Tasha?
Yeah, nothing.
Right? If you're not growing, you're what?
Nothing.
Oh, yeah, you're dying. Right. So I like to keep growing.
So another demonstration for me is, I'm a big fan of A Course in Miracles.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure all our viewers, listeners know what that is, but in case you don't, it is really a practical training of how to turn the mind, the ego, from work with your ego and turn your mind from shift your perception, which is the definition of a miracle, a shift in perception, shift it from fear-based perception to love-based. And it never says this is the only way. It says this is a way, a path, but it's a path that has lessons in it, 365 of them. And it's a beautiful time, it seems to me, when we're in lockdown, to be doing a lesson a day and then putting it into practice. So in the growth zone, there would be 365 lessons or actions that would demonstrate that you're in the growth zone. That's a kind of cool form of study. And you can get it all online, so it's not going to cost you anything. And I think for me personally, I experience it always in the body. I'm such an advocate of including the body. So fear to me is a contraction or something tight. Love is soft, open, and there's just a flow. And that's an actual feeling. That's not even my head. That's how I get out of polarity. I don't think about it anymore. It either feels like flow or it is tight. And if it's tight, the first thing I would do is that me? Mm-hmm. Is that something am I unconsciously perpetuating that reaction in my body? Yes or no? And if I get a no, that's not me, then it could be a reaction to the stimulus. But my task is stimulus, meaning anything outside of myself, I'll consider too. However, my job in the growth zone is to always return to love, always return to flow. Even if I have that contraction, it's information, and now I need to let it go, instead of turning it into something. So that, you basically use whatever is happening in your life to bring you back to a state of love.
Yeah.
That would be a demonstration.
Nice. I like it. So we've got about 5 minutes left, Tasha.
Really?
For the official Conscious Living Radio broadcast hour? Yes, we do.
No, wait. Yes. Okay.
Well, time flies when you're having fun. This is how it works when you're streaming online. Even the radio goes by fast for me.
Wow. Okay, find the lesson in the moment, in the challenge. Notice the meaning you're making of things and pick something else. And I swear to God, if you pick anything else, you're going to be stretching because you're wired to see things a certain way. Notice, pop that tape or whatever that is, that program, throw it. Pick something else and you'll see what happens to your emotional state. So if you're going, oh my God, this is so awful, catch it and put in a new tape, put in a new program, breathe it in, and immediately you will change your internal state. Mm-hmm. So that would be a demonstration to me of being in the growth zone, that you are monitoring and choosing, not making it wrong, but feel what you're feeling and then make a choice to shift it.
Great.
You got any more? Do we have any more that we got to get in there?
Let's take a look. What do we have?
Meditation.
There's one here. I practice quietude, patience, relationship, and creativity. I think that's a beautiful one because, right now we have so much extra time on our hands for so many of us. And, I love how they call it quietude. But I think it's important. How often do so many people take time in silence and just to take in the sounds of nature and, like you say, meditate? This is a great time to really, connect within. Mm-hmm. Patience, man, all we can do is ride this out. So we may as well be patient. Relationships, what a great time to deepen your relationships if you're in them. And part of me thinks, with social distancing, it's a great time to possibly look for some relationships even online. And that's if we're talking romantic. What about relationships with your kids and your family? You can be picking up the phone and having conversations and really connecting in a different way because we're not so busy being busy. And one of the ones I love in this is creativity. What a great time to get creative. What's one of those things you've always wanted to do that you've been too busy to do, whether it might be write a book or, work on a project in the yard or around the house, or read a book if you don't want to write one. There's lots of great creative projects. I built a planter in the backyard on the weekend so we can do some organic veggies and things like that. So I've gotten quite creative in a beautifully patient way.
Did you see that there's a thing flying around of people using household objects that they find to recreate art masterpieces? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
So beautiful, so creative, so hysterically funny. Like, worth checking that one out, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. I know we're going to leave everyone with a bit of Jan Arden. She wrote a beautiful post back just a few days ago, really. And we're going to put the whole thing up online, so I won't read the whole thing to you, but I thought we could close the show just reading the last little bit because it's so pertinent to everything we've been talking about. I love the simplicity of it. I love that it's not new age. It's Jan Arden, and she's ours. It's like, music and everything else. So I'm just going to read the last little bit. Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Worry is a liar. This little shard of history will fold over itself. It's going to take some time. It will require patience and, more than anything else, an enormous amount of kindness. Treat other people kindly. Take only what you need. Share what you have. Encourage others whenever you can. Be positive even when you're not sure. Be determined. Be steadfast. Be careful. Smile when you pass a stranger on the street. We are not each other's enemy. We are each other's salvation. And I love that line. There is no life without a community of souls. We are imperfect souls blazing through the universe in search of true love, a true love of all living things. Let us protect what we have left when this lifts. Let's not go back. We have it in us to be so much more. Become the person you were meant to be.
That's great. I know. Nice.
Right?
Yeah, I read the whole thing. It was a great thing. I'm going to share it on the page tomorrow as I produce a page for the radio program and things on consciousliving.org. I know we often talk about some of the events coming up, and of course, being socially responsible, we've canceled everything that we're doing, and we've moved a few things to online. So for the month of April, we're doing a few online things. And just to shout out real quick, this Saturday we're doing actually a cannabis ceremony with Stephen Gray. People know many of those things that we're doing. It's going to be done, you can do it in your own home. We're going to broadcast that live. I've started a little program for the month of April as well on Monday evenings called the Better Everyday Life Project, where I'm going to give you some tangible tools, techniques, and strategies where, you can learn how to coach yourself right now, help yourself, help others, and really make a difference in your life. And there's an online summit going on next Wednesday, launching the new Canadian Psychedelic Association, which is going to be a free event online next Wednesday at 4:00. So, there's lots happening. I see a lot of our people that we know and a lot of people in the community go into online stuff. So take a look online and find some great things to continue your growth as we have this opportunity to create some pretty fantastic change in our own lives and in the world today. So
you've been listening to Conscious Living Radio 100.5 FM in Vancouver, Co-op Radio. And I just want to leave you with something I posted today. Sometimes you find yourselves adrift, and sometimes adrift you find yourself.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, thank you, everyone.
That was fun.
Yeah,
bye, everybody. I guess we're going to be doing this again.
Be doing this every week until we get permission to go back in the studio.
Yeah.
So stay safe. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other, and live a life of love, inspiration, and passion.
And we'll see you at 7:00, or hear you at 7:00 out there, banging inspiration and joy.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Take care.